More than 2 dozen?
Yes.
Okay.
Probably 50 countries I've been to.
Yeah, you
I'm
got to
not
make it
sure.
to Iceland.
That's a lot. I do.
Beautiful place. The Iceland, what's weird about it is how green it is, because everybody thinks of Iceland as being cold and icy. You'll find ice there, like there's in the south, there's a lagoon full of icebergs, and it's really cool because they can float out to the ocean and then they'll like kind of beach up on the beach. So they're just sitting there with the waves crashing on them, that kind of stuff. You get some really interesting stuff throughout the country, but it's not like it's all icy. It's green. Yesterday, I couldn't remember how many times I'd been there or when I'm going back. I'm going back twice this year. Once for a private event, which is what first brought me to Iceland. A person brings me in, and I teach a group of printing companies that are there for their continuing education. But then also after coming there for many times, then I was asked, well, why don't we do photo tours there since I've been there enough times. And I couldn't remember when I was going, so I actually had Karen actually looked it up, my wife, and so I have that information if you'd like to see it. I put a little promo slide up here that has the dates. So I'll be going to Iceland August 11th through the 17th of this year, and that's where we'll be touring the country and shooting. And what's cool about it is we're in this big four-wheel drive like minibus, and while we're traveling between locations, I show you how to pimp your gear, which means I'll show you how to get in your little menu of your camera and tell you how to change every little setting that makes it better. And people really enjoyed that on the last trip we did. So then I'll also be prepping for the next location, telling you what to expect, what camera settings I might use, that kind of stuff. And then at night, I'll show you how I adjust those things using Lightroom and Photoshop. But it's not just Lightroom, or not just Iceland that I'm going to this year. I have two other spots, just in case you saw some of the other shots. I have a workshop in California that is on HDR in light painting, two of my favorite kinds of photography, and that's March 11th through the 15th. And then Namibia, and that is September 19th through October 1st. Last time I went to Africa, it was pretty amazing. You saw some of the shots yesterday with the lions and other things, and this time we'll have some of that, and we'll also have these massively huge sand dunes that are there, and some, if we can get the right permissions and timing, there's even a town that's kind of being overtaken with a sand dune where you can see buildings where the sand dunes coming right into the door, that kind of stuff. It, as well as some wildlife, so it's a pretty cool place.
So awesome. Well, like I said yesterday, I love all of the photos that you use to demonstrate.
I do in Lightroom because with my images, I find that I shoot so many images and I'm not using them necessarily for particular projects where when I'm done with a shoot, I process them and deliver them to a client and then not think about that folder anymore. Instead, I get an archive of images that just keeps building up, gets bigger and bigger, and then I need to use those images for all sorts of things, like teaching this class. You know, I got to pick out the images for this class. Also, I prepare images to have large prints made. My favorite thing to do with my images is to print them 5 feet wide on canvas, and that's how I like to present them. And if you're going to print something that big, you need to make sure that they're refined. So if somebody's not going to walk up to it and find little problems with the image, because I find they can be distracted by a technical issue in an image and not just enjoy it as a whole. So there's some customization I do in Lightroom to make that process easier. It's not going to be appropriate for everyone. You know, you have to adapt it for your own needs, but this will give you one idea on how you could use it. And then you'll just have to think about how does that align with what you need to do with your images and how could you adapt it. So anyway, let's take a look at a few things. First off, when we're in Lightroom, you've noticed before that at the top of your screen, we have the various modules on the right side. And let's say you're going to have a client come in and look at your images. Wouldn't it be nice to not necessarily advertise that you're in Lightroom so that when the client comes in, they have no idea what this is. Instead, it looks like your own custom software. I just want to show you quickly how to change that. That's known as the identity plate. But this isn't the only thing it's going to be used for. When we create things like slideshows, which we'll talk about later, or even some print-related things, we can use the same information to be either overlaid on our picture, or let's say that it starts or ends our slideshow.